Now we're going to dive into change management. We're going to talk about change requests and change orders. In Sage Intacct, it is a two-step process. You are going to do a change request first and a change order second. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some setup items first, and then we're going to go into the workflow of how to do a change request and then a change order. So I'm going to come up here to my setup menu under projects, and we're going to talk about change request types. Change request types are a tag on a change request that differentiates it by a certain type of description. So if this change request is a contingency where you're moving money out of a contingency fund into another cost code, that could be a change request type that you might want. This change order request one that's COR labeled, that is one that is used when a change request goes out externally and goes to an architect or an owner, for example. The ICO, the internal change order, is if you're moving money between cost codes and it's not really going to go out of the system or be a change request where it's going to generate more revenue or include a revised contract price or a change to the revised contract price to the owner. Okay. You can customize and add change requests into the screen if you want different change request types. So you can have your own customized change request types. Change request status. These are the best practice change request statuses that are in the system. However, you can add certain ones by hitting the add button. And you might do something like verbal okay. That's a common one people like. And what does that mean? Is that considered an approved change? Is that a pending change? I still have to get a formal signature. You can decide how you want it to be treated. Okay. Most people, when they add custom statuses, it's one of these two workflow types that they will pick here. So I like to consider a verbal okay as a pending change until I get that formal signature in. I want the status to be active so I can use it. And now I have the new status that I can use when I'm making up a change request. Okay, so just an example of being able to add your own custom change request statuses. Okay, so now let's navigate to a change request screen. So I can come here to my projects menu and I can click on my change requests here on the menu. And also remember, on a dashboard, I can have custom links to navigate me to the change request screen as well, called custom navigation. And I'll show that towards the end. So I'm going to click on change requests here. And here's a list of some sample change requests already in the system. Notice I have an ID. So this is a document sequence where it's just going to sequence up by one every time I add a new one. It's just an internal change request number. This does not go out on forms. That is just a number it is given by Sage Intacct. The date of my change request, the project it relates to, and the name, the type of change request. So as I see on the screen here on my view, I can see my change request type easily in a column. Okay, so that's really handy to look at a project and see, oh yeah, that one should have went out to the owner or customer. This one was just a contingency move, so it shows a 0. Okay, so you can easily see that here on this view. Also the status, if it's been posted or drafted. The cost, so this is what's going to affect the estimate. So this is what's going to affect the estimate, budget, whatever you like to call it on the project. And then the price is going to be added to the project contract price. So this is going to affect the AIA schedule of values or the contract price in the system. Okay. And adjust the contract price up or down. Okay. This column here is if it has been created and included and generated on a change order. And then this is the contract ID that it goes with. So in here, I'm going to hit the add button if I want to add a change request. And the change request ID right here, I have actually turned off document sequencing to show this as well. You can also create your own change request IDs if you like. So for example, some people like to do this and generate their own change request number. So the project number -001, or maybe it's the cost code -001. Okay, so that is an option. If I have document sequencing turned on, it's just going to put a number here for me, or it's going to say the word new. So this is an option you can do. So I wanted to show it both ways. Okay, you're going to pick the project, put your change request date here. The status could be pending if I'm making a new one up. Change request type, it's going to go out of the system. I'm going to select change order request. I can put a description up here if I want. Just put a sample description in here. Price effective date, cost effective date, you do not need to include these. The required fields here, this date is required, but you do not need to use these dates, and these are not commonly used. In the change request template, you're going to see a couple different change requests forms that you can pick from. Okay, so this one has a duplicate description, but this here is going to be the form that will be sent out of the system. So I'm going to show some sample forms at the end here with some sample data in them. So there is a standard AIA type change request form that you could pick to use here. You can also customize this form the way that you would like it as well. The send to is going to be the owner, the customer, the architect, whoever's going to get this change request. You would pick it here. The project contract line source. So there's 3 different options here. When the change request is generated, when it's posted, do I want it to inherit the project contract line from the change order when I go to the second step? Do I want to assign the lines on this change request, or do I want to assign it on the entry lines down here? So what this means is if I have change order number 1 and I'm working on the change request as part of change order number 1, do I want this to be at the bottom of my AIA? And when do I determine that? Is that when the change order is generated? Is that when, at this point in time, do I want to do it right here in my project contract ID and project contract line field here? Do I want to put it at the bottom as change order 1 on line 34? Do I know that at this point in time? If you do, then pick assign from this change request. If you want all of the lines down here to go to row 34, change order 1, you can do that here on this top part of the change request. So I'm going to do 34, change order 1. This is an example. This is typically what you do when you fill out the lines. So I'm making a new line here. Okay, so this is all I need to do to make a new project contract line if at the time of the change request, I know that this is going to be on line 34, change order 1. Okay, so I've got to fill out this top info just like that. Obviously, you're going to change retainage if you need to. And then all I need are these 2 here. You do not put a price in. That is generated when I do the second step, and I come down here at the bottom and put the price and the cost in. Okay, so now I have generated a new line on the fly by hitting the add button here, change order 1. All of this entry, all of this data down here is going to be plunked into change order 1. Okay, so right here, I'm going to put as a sample, I'm going to put this down here. You can see it's already pre-filled in for me. So I already know everything I do down here is going to go to change order 1 line. So if I'm just picking a cost code here. And let's say it's 15,000 and I'm marking it up. So it's $15,000. It's going to affect my estimate. It's 15 and add 15,000 to this cost code on the estimate. It's going to bring my price up when I generate the billing to the owner by 20 grand. Then down here, I can do another line. For example, a different cost code. But notice, it's all going to put this $85,000 to change order 1 on my AIA schedule of values, for example. No matter, because I've picked this option up here at the top. Okay, so that is how the project contract line source works in this example. Now I've got this completed. I like how my amounts look. I've got all the lines filled in. I can draft or post it. If I draft this, it does not update the estimate. So you have to post it in order for the estimate to get updated. Okay, it's going to keep your original estimate values the way they are, but it's going to add an approved workflow type, an approved change to the estimate. So you still have your original estimate values, approved changes, and then your revised estimate. Okay, so now that new change request is added into the system. It's down here at the bottom. Okay, I can see that I have not created or added a change order yet because that field is blank. So now I want to create a change order. I have one change request and I'm going to then go right to the change order. Obviously, you could have multiple change requests and have 3 or 4 different change requests in one change order. Okay, but I'm going to make up my change order ID. So again, this could be pre-filled in. This might say new. You could have this generate for you as the document sequence. Okay, but I'm just going to make up the change order ID myself. The project here is 22002. On this screen, you do have to fill in your change order date and your price effective date. Best practice is just use the same date here. If you want a description, you certainly can use that. If you are using the description on the change request to be on the change order form, then you don't necessarily need to fill in a description here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about options on the forms and tie them to the screen so you understand the workflow and you understand your options with the forms. Some people send out the change order form and not the change request form, so they will put a description here. Okay, so there's options. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's then, if I'm going to send this change order form out of the system, I want to pick the template here of the form that I'm going to send out. Then you're going to pick the person who's going to receive this form. So the architect, the owner of the job, the customer, could go there. This is always going to be contract change order item. And then if you have selected on the change request in the prior step to inherit from the project change order there, then you are going to fill in the contract and contract line here. Then you can set the status to pending or one of these statuses. We'll use pending for now. Then I'm going to open up additional information here. Down in the external reference number, you're going to put the change order number that you are on for this specific project. So I'm doing change order 1. Okay, so that's going to come out on the form or forms, the project change order form. Okay, so we've got all of our information filled out up here. We've got that external reference number filled in with the number 1, and now we have to post. We're going to add the change requests in the second step here. So you have to post first. Then you are going to edit the change order. You're going to select the change request, add selected and close. We're going to post again. And now I can see my posted change order. I can click change request here to see which change requests are assigned to that change order if I'd like. But notice I have set the status to pending on the change order. So on this field here, okay, so notice how this says change request status. It doesn't say change order status. So this here will update all of the change requests to a pending state. So if I had 10 change requests here, it updated it to a pending state. Okay, so remember, I put this in as an approved change request. I made the change order, called it pending. It therefore updated my change request to pending as well. Okay, so if I come back and change this to approved and hit post, so I've approved the change order, hit post, my change request now is in an approved state. So that status on the change order updates all of the change requests that are tied to it. Okay, so that is the workflow for inputting a change request and a change order into the system. Now, if I want to correct the change order, I need to edit the change order. And you can see the change request here. So I would like to change this. And what I'd like to change is the change request cost or price. Okay, so in order to do that, I have to open up the change request. Okay, so notice there's no edit button. So I actually have to go back to the change request screen right here. And I need to change this amounts at the bottom here. So I want to get rid of the change order first, post it. So I've taken the change order off of the field here on the change request screen. And notice now more of my fields are opened up and they are white, not grayed out. So if I want to change this to 13,000, I can then assign the change order. I can then assign the change order right away again, hit post. And now I have my updated 63,000 cost. Notice my state is approved here. Okay, my status. So now let me walk you through an example where we're using the inherit from change order scenario. So I'm just going to edit the change request we've been using. So how do I fix it? So this will be an example of some things that we run into where they need to put the line on the change order side, and they've accidentally picked this contract line source to say change request. So this is an exact scenario we run into. So I'm going to take the change order off here. Remember, I'm going to post. So now I can edit it again and I can make some changes. So I've accidentally picked this and I want to say inherit from the change order. Notice how my contract ID and lines down here are now gone. Okay. So I'm going to make that line up when I make the change order to put like change order 1 at the bottom of the AIA. I might have 5 change requests that make up one change order. And that would be a scenario where you would want to say inherit from project change order. Okay, so put the change order back on. I'm going to hit post. Now we're going to go to the change order. So I'm going to click here, click edit. And now I am going to use these fields. So this is where I'm going to put it to change order 1. Now I added this on the fly. So I hit add and it takes me to the lines and I filled out line 34, change order 1. I already have done this, but just how easy it is. It's just like filling out a project contract line. Say 5, billable, come to the bottom, pick your project and your item. That's all you do. You do not do any sort of amounts here at the bottom. That's what the change request and change order amounts in the price fields are for. So do not put anything down here. Okay, and you hit save. Okay, so I've already done it, so I'm just going to pick the line here. So change order 1. And now if I had multiple change requests down here at the bottom, all of those change requests and the total price that those add up to would be displayed on this line 34, change order 1. I'm going to hit post. And now that has been generated. Okay, so that's all going to go to 34, change order 1 on the AIA. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. On the change request, if the status is set to approved, then the amount for the price is going to show on the contract lines. It's going to show on the project contract lines area here. $85,000 for change order 1. The $63,000 on the estimate is going to show on the estimate as a revised estimate amount. So if I navigate to the estimate screen, and look at the bottom here, it's going to show up down here. I'm going to sort by the change request ID here. So it's these 2 lines because the change request has 2 lines on it. So there's my $63,000. And notice that it's approved. So it's going to affect my estimate when I run a report and I use a revised estimate amount. That is going to be included. Okay, so now watch what happens when I change the state here to pending. Okay, so I'm actually going to do it on the change order because remember the change order updates the status here on the change request. So we're going to navigate to the change order. And let's say I want to not consider it approved yet. I want to change it to a pending state. So I'm going to hit pending. I'm going to hit post. We're going to go look at the lines again on the contract side. So the AIA lines, I'm going to look at the estimate. So the AIA contract lines here, refresh the screen. Notice how it now says 0 because that's not in an approved state. If I go look at the estimate again, and go down to the bottom. And now I see a pending state for those 2 lines. So sort by the ID again. So the pending change now is in effect for the estimate as well. Okay, so that's how the state or status works with those and how it works with the estimate and contract lines. So now I want to talk about the actual forms, the change request and change order forms. So I'm going to print the change request listed here and show you the actual form. And we're going to show you the fields that it maps to from the screen. Okay, so this is an example one. Now, obviously, we can make changes and have, your own type of version as well. So logos would go up here, address, you have your change request, got the company you're issuing the change request to, the number, change request number, the date, and we have some detail down here. Now, this change request number does not have to be the change request number over here on the left. It can be the external reference number which I'll show in a second instead. Okay, so you do not have to use the pre-numbered change request ID here. Or if you have not turned on auto sequencing, you can make this change request to say project number -1, project number -2, depending on what change request you're on for that project. Okay, so there's options with that. So project ID and name, a description of the overall change request. Okay, now there's multiple descriptions and scopes on here. You're probably not going to do this, but I want to point out where all these fields come from. So I put them all on the form. Okay. So the description here, the scope, and the line level description, I'm going to show you where those come from. And then you have a schedule impact. Does it increase the schedule? You have a quantity, a unit, and a unit price if wanted as well down here, or just the amount. Okay, so you could have these just fill in blank if this is more of like a labor line for the detail lines. Then down here, you have some signatures, the architect, the contractor. So you, who's issuing it, would be here, and then the owner. Okay. Again, this is modifiable. If you don't require all that, can take off some of those signature lines. Okay, so how this mapping works with the screen. So I'm going to organize my screens here. Okay, so side by side here, we're going to edit the screen where the change order printed from. And you can see this top description here goes with the description here on the top. I have my scope here. If instead I want to use the scope, I can put that in this field. It's going to map to here. My schedule impact is right there. If you'd rather have a substantial completion date listed instead, or both schedule impact and new substantial completion date, you could map to this field on the form as well. Okay. Then we have an external reference number here we could use right there instead of the system generated number up here. Okay. Then down below, the description here, the interlocking pavers description is on the line level. So you can see that. And then you can see my quantity, 36, price, 25. And then that unit would be an external unit of measure. If you wanted that there, that might be something that you might want to take off if not used. That would be the external unit of measure and the details here. If you put something there, and then your line amount is going to be the calculated line price. Okay. So basically on the form though, remember, we can adjust this, move it around. You can have a change request form that you like. I'm just showing you some of the fields that generally are used when you make up a change request. Okay. So now let's look at the change order form. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the change order form. Navigate to change orders here. We're going to look at this number 4. So again, I've got a description up here. Could be the description for a bunch of change requests that you could use on the form. You could also use the description of each change request and list each change request on the form as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example one here. Also, there is a schedule impact and revised completion date as well. Okay, so I'm going to put a date in here. Actually, there's a revised date right here. I'm going to use that. Okay, we're going to post this. And I'm going to print this. We're going to talk through the form and things that you can do. So we're going to print or email this. We're going to print preview it with the print button here. Okay, get my screen adjusted here. Okay. So on the form, compared to the screen, we have the customer name up here of the project. So when I click view, Star Enterprises customer here is the actual customer with the address that's displaying. Now, you can do a couple of different things. We could use the ship to contact here, the bill to, the primary. You could use the send to instead if you want, up here in the top, if you prefer. Okay. We also have the project listed. Got the change order number. So again, this can be, you can type this number in yourself, or you can use an external reference number here instead. This form is pulling the change order ID up here. The date. You've got change request listed here as a summary. So this change order is built to list each change request, the ID of that change request, the description, and the amount. Okay, so it's pulling from down here. Then it's summarizing what's going on. So the original contract amount is $500,000. There was no previously issued change orders. The contract amount prior to this change order was $500,000, $928,000 for this change order, to a new contract amount of $1.428 million. Okay, and notice my revised substantial completion date is here, revised completion date. And then I've got my signatures down below, kind of like the change request. Okay, so again, this is all modifiable. If you'd rather have just a simple description, a scope, not list change requests, you can put that here. We have a couple different versions of these change orders. The point is you can map to these fields with these printed document templates. Okay, so really anything you see down here, you can list on these printed document templates 90% of the time. Okay, so there might be a field or two that doesn't come out here, but it's pretty rare. So what you got to determine is what you would like this to look like. And we need to then generate that using the fields here and test that out. One last thing I want to point out. These two fields in additional information are custom fields that Banger has added to environments. So your instance will have these where it's going to fill these in for you. So the native Sage Intacct build does not have these amounts on the change order screen. Okay, so these will be in your environment. They will auto-populate as you create these change orders and will update as you push through the system and push new change orders in. So if I print a change order, if this project had a couple different change orders and I want to go back and print change order 1, these amounts will be reflective of the current situation and will not revert backwards to change order 1. So I just want to clarify, these are current. This box down here is a current total. Okay. And you do not have to use this totaling at the bottom. It's just optional, but it will roll current. So that is a rundown of how change requests and change orders work in the system. So we were in change requests and change orders and how those printed document templates are used. So the change order and change request forms I'm showing, how those are used on the screen. So you can load them in here, or there will be some preloaded for you that you can then adjust. There's a refinement course on printed document templates. But here are the change orders and change requests that are used on that specific screen. You can have multiple versions. You just need to make sure you pick the right one when you're on the screen here in the templates, as I've stated, so you can have multiple different versions. Okay. Don't forget, you can also email out the change requests and change orders with the email template option here. So don't forget to set up your email templates. We can assist you with this as well. There's a refinement course on this as well. but these will be, then you will be able to send these out of the system. A PDF of the change request or a change order would go with the email that would go to, for example, the Emma Penny right here. These email templates will pull from the customer's information if their email address is filled in. So once you add an email template into the system, it can be used here on this change request screen. The body of the email and the PDF of the change order, for example, will go with the actual email and be logged in the system on the change order record. Don't forget to use Ask Richard to ask questions as well. But we are here at 1 o'clock every day at Central Time to assist you with any of your questions on change orders, change requests, or Sage Intacct. Thank you.